Okay. And we are live. So welcome, Mindy. It's great to have you here on Changing the Game with our NM Marketing Playmakers. Today, we're going to be talking about our last session of this season of Changing the Game, their marketing playbook, which I think is really the wrapper for everything when it comes to marketing and so critical. So I'm really excited to have you talking about it. We were just talking about how much it comes up in my conversation with clients about the work that you're doing in this space. So you're going to have some great nuggets for the audience today. A couple things that I'll start us off on before we get into the meat of our conversation today is this is the last session of this series, as I said. So we'll be back probably in the spring with a second season going more in depth. So certainly let me know what you want to hear, what you'd like to go more deeper into. And I'll probably be reaching out and getting some feedback from you guys as well, so we can put together a really great season of speakers and content for you. In a previous webinar, I thought it was really interesting that when we talked briefly about the marketing playbook and the importance of it, a couple things came up to that I think are good starting points for our conversation today. One, 56% of people said that their marketing is really random. Part of their practice. And then the other thing, when we talked about the different components of your playbook, whether it be your strategy or processes and workflow or your budget when it relates to marketing, most people said at most they have like 4 components in place. Most people had really more so 1 or 2. So I think that's a good context as we get into our conversation today. So if you have questions as we go, feel free to put those into the Q&A, and we'll have some time for Q&A at the end of our topic in 10. As well as, if there's any other technical issues, go ahead, drop those in the chat, and we'll keep an eye on those as well. So let's get into our topic 10 with Mindy. So we always like to start it off with just, how do you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Mindy Wilke, and I'm a fee-based planner, and I've been with Northwestern Mutual now for 19 years, and a founder of the Wilke Wealth and Investment Planning team.
And I think most people in our audience probably know your name, been around and often on stage and talking about marketing. So tell us a little bit about, when you think of marketing, what does it really mean to you?
Absolutely. So marketing to me is when somebody Googles my name, what are they going to learn about me? And I think marketing is the way to take what we do and make it to a 5th grade level and let anybody Google us, and they do. And I want them to find a lot of amazing, great things about myself, about our firm, about my team, and just be intrigued. And I want to stand out. So to me, that's what marketing is about, is literally at this point, if you get Googled, what are they finding?
Great. So I think that's always a good context, because everybody defines it a little bit differently, and setting the stage there. So when you think about the playbook and the role that having a marketing playbook has for your team, why is that important to really your underlying marketing success?
Yeah, so, I don't want to waste time. I don't want to waste money. And there are a ton of great ideas, but at the end of it, I've got to have a solo focus of what we're trying to do. And I want my money and my efforts and my team's efforts all in alignment. And the reality is, what I've found is that if you're all in alignment, you don't need to be perfect, but you will excel so much, and you will well surpass, let's call it competition or your peer group, because most people try to do a little bit of everything, and they really don't make that big of an impact. So we try to be as solo focused as we possibly can. And we are willing to put money towards it. We are willing to put, time towards it, but it also makes it really easy for decision-making for us. Because if it's not in our alignment of our focus, it doesn't matter how good of an idea it is, it just goes to the side.
Do you have a placeholder that you kind of keep those for maybe future ideas? Or
of course.
Yeah.
So all my NML journal books I've ever gotten all these years, that's what I use them for.
Maybe someday, but not now. It's not in our focus right now. So I think that's great, of that whole kind of less is more. Of doing things and being consistent and doing it really well versus trying to do everything or be all things to all people. So tell us about, though, what challenges have you had? Because that can't always be easy. Especially when you hear something, you're like, wow, that sounds like an amazing idea. So how do you deal with that?
I think one of the biggest challenges is that marketing is a long-term effort. And it can be really hard staying the course when you're not seeing immediate feedback, immediate change. You're all of a sudden your phone did not blow up with 20 new referrals, and all of a sudden you did not submit 50,000 a premium because it's something new for marketing. And I think that's hard. A lot of people in this industry, love getting rewarded, and they love that instant reward. I mean, that's kind of why our companies and our industry is set up the way it is, and it works well, right? But marketing really isn't that way. So our brains have to get used to the long term. What you do today, you will probably see impacted, I don't even know the study, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. And you have to wait to see those results before you make a decision if it was good or not. And yet you have to still pile money towards it, and you still have to pile your time towards it.
So it's staying the course is really important. It sounds like that long-term, like you said, investment with it. So that's certainly some challenges that advisors face. What have been some surprises maybe to you along the way?
I am amazed at how many people out in the world are uber aware of the things that we do. And, it's sort of I know the people's names, I know what they do, but I don't know why, but I just think, well, they probably don't know who I am, and they don't really know I exist. And then when I finally meet them, they know so much about me, almost a little creepy, but they are so aware of what our firm is doing, what our successes are. And so they're in the background watching it. And that, hearing those kind of comments is really the part that helped us keep things going long term, because what we're realizing is, oh, we are impacting them. We are dripping on them. And the message of who we are and our reputation of our firm is absolutely the one that we want. But it's because we're purposely driving that out there for marketing. So it is working. So that's amazing when I hear that kind of stuff, and I'm just shocked. I am, you ever meet people and you haven't talked to them in 5 years, and yet they know everything about you and everything about your daughter and what happened, and you're like, ooh, that's kind of creepy. But what you realize is you're putting the material out there, right? You're putting it out on your Facebook, for example, but they're actually watching it, even though they didn't comment, even though they didn't give the thumbs up, and you had no idea that they were watching, and they're super aware of you. It's the same in our business, what's happening.
Makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So,
and if you do nothing, they're also super aware of that.
And what's the risk of that? What's the downside of doing nothing? What do you think the repercussions are?
Oh, I think the repercussions are that people believe that you're probably more of a salesperson than doing planning. I believe people think that you're not up with the current knowledge. You don't have a long-term vision for your team and your plan. So maybe you're not going to be here. Maybe this is a stepping stone for you, and you're actually going to do something else. I think people, it will fill negative space if you don't give them something to think about.
Yeah, it's that whole thing of communication, and that absence of communication. People speculate, or they make up their own narrative versus you trying to control what that message looks like.
That's right.
So tell us a little bit about how things are really different for you. I mean, you said you're surprised sometimes, people are taking notice. What kinds of results do you know? I mean, you've been doing this for a while now. You're not just at the beginning stages of it. You have been making that long-term investment. What are some of the results that you're seeing? How is things different for you or your team?
So number one, so when I started 19 years ago, I started like everybody else. Well, first an intern, but then a financial representative. So all my knowledge that I was first trained on was insurance, right? And yes, I had to learn all of that. Then I had to learn investments. Then I had to learn planning. But day one, I really wanted to come in and be a true financial planner. But I had to get there. And I find that a lot of people in our industry and in our company struggle that individuals or their referrals believe they are an insurance salesperson. And I'm not saying that's bad, but if that's not what you want to be portrayed as, and that's not your skill set. You're actually really there to do full on financial planning. And there is a lot you can bring to the table, but people don't know that about you. People don't perceive it. I am amazed how I do not fight that battle of being an insurance person and, oh, you must be want to sell me life insurance because you're tied to Northwestern Mutual. That is not what people view of us. And nobody says that to us. Everybody talks to us about what we do for planning. And being in Milwaukee, in my own Northwestern Mutual, which all of Milwaukee knows of Northwestern Mutual for 160 some years, that is a hard battle to fight, that you don't just sell everybody whole life because whole life sells everything, right? And we do not have that reputation at all. That amazes me.
So are there some things, is it the softer things in terms of just the way people think about you and what they're looking for you and your team for? Or are there some things in terms of, speeding up the process or bringing in more people that you've seen some results at this point as well?
Well, where we've had the biggest lift on that is that we have purposely written articles. We have purposely gone out and given presentations, have those recorded, and we are making sure that watching us like work and we get rewarded, we get recognized for doing planning. We make sure that that information is out on the websites. We make sure that if you Google us, you will find that we've been in Forbes, Entrepreneur, the O magazine. You will find that we have written in different like newspaper, right, like magazines and things like that. And you'll find that we've been on the news, we've been on radio stations. And so all of a sudden, you can see all these different layers that we're communicating about financial planning all over different types of media. So when people see that, they will immediately think, wow, she's viewed as an expert because she is at all these different types of media outlets, and she's talking about different layers of planning. And I don't have to talk about my years of being here, all my designations. I don't even have to talk about it. It's viewed as an expert, and we have purposely made sure we do them. We look for those opportunities, but then what we're doing is we're taking that and we are making sure it's on our website, it's in our Facebook, it's in our LinkedIn. We have to drive it out there so that it hits all the social media.
So it sounds kind of like what you talked about before about being focused and being selective. Although you may be doing, being selective of like, is this the right opportunity? Are we going to do this speaking engagement or not? In terms of how you execute on it, you're thinking really comprehensively around your marketing. How do we use this in our digital presence? How do we use this in our client experience? Like, how do we get the most, that full experience out of whatever it is that we're doing? Would that be fair?
Absolutely. I mean, even to the level of, obviously COVID, you stopped doing a lot of things, but when we would go and we would get hired to speak at a network office and we would, be talking about planning, we were making sure that like the world knew we were in, such and such city. We were in Chicago, and we are talking about, planning with all these amazing, great advisors. Like we made sure the world knew we did it. And we take pictures with them, right? Everything, of course, everything's approved ahead of time, compliance wise, and it's up on our website. We are like boasting about it, but in a very professional way, because there's so much leverage you can get off of doing one event, but you can leverage it. And what is it really costing you? Well, it costs time to go to Chicago, but we leverage it so big that we get, I guess, a lot from doing something like that. And that's what we look for. If it's gonna be my time, we look for that. The opposite is that Mindy could be with an A+ client. And she could be doing a fact finder, a close, or an annual review, which those are big deals to me. And if I'm not doing that, the other item I have to be doing is driving that I'm going to be getting more A plus, right? Fact finders, closes, and reviews. If that's not it, then it shouldn't take up Mindy's time or Mindy's money. So that, like, that's how we view those kind of things. But same, then we do that for each one of our team members. If we're going to have a team member do a particular item, whatever that might be, we know what their top job is. It has to make their top job is going to get better, quicker, faster. If not, they don't get to do that other thing either. We're wasting our resources.
So when you think about, I mean, especially a lot of our audience being newer, they're probably just starting with kind of maybe some of their marketing pieces and thinking about their playbook and strategy and processes. You know, why do you think they don't do it? Why do other people not invest the time to put in place a marketing playbook?
Well, I think that actually a lot of newer advisors think two things. And again, I'm not new anymore, so maybe I'm wrong, but I think that they believe it's going to be very difficult and they don't have time to do it. And I believe they believe the other one is that they're just not going to be able, like, it's not going to make a difference. And the reality is, it is going to make a difference. It's the same thing as telling your client and advising your client. It is important to start your Roth IRA, even if it's only $50 a month today, because 4 years and 5 years down the road, you've more than maxed it out. And now you make too much money and we're doing a backdoor Roth. You've got to get to that layer, but you got to start it. And marketing is so fluffy for people. And it shouldn't be. It should be day one, part of their plan. And technically it is part of their plan day one. They just don't realize it. Right? When we first start as a rep or a gonna be rep, in our interview process, what do they make us do? They have us go out and interview, right? 10 or 20 people, and we have these little sheets that we fill in. That is marketing. We have started it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all, like you said, it's how we define marketing, and there's so many pieces that really tie into it, and that compounding effect.
Right.
If you get started and you keep with it and build on it, you don't have to go from, day one advisor to having a marketing presence like you have overnight. It's going to be a journey, just like it has even been for you guys.
Right. I mean, if I was a new rep today, first of all, what I had 19 years ago was pretty sad compared to what they are given today. We really didn't have anything. But if I was a new advisor today, of course I would learn everything they teach me. That's just a given. But I would absolutely go to my website and I would have my team. Of course, you don't have a team. Yes, you do. You have 3 or 5 people in your agency that you highly respect, you look up to, and you're going to be doing joint work with them. They would be on my website as my specialist. I would then be, and I would just sell them like there is no tomorrow. And my website would be all about those people. The other thing I would be having on there would be about advanced planning. And a lot of times it takes a few years before you realize the power of our advanced planning department and the fact that you have 30 CPAs and attorneys back pocket that you get to use their knowledge on anything you need. That would be all over my website, and I would make myself human. I would look human on my website, and I would look different than all the other peers that started on the same day of me. And it's so simple. I would start with that and have a good LinkedIn. And then once a quarter, I would have a small initiative that I'm going to take, an hour a quarter and make sure I get it done.
Great advice. That was kind of where we were going to go next, of that practical tips. So you gave a few different things there. What's the one thing that you suggest of that, maybe that's a great, try it at work tip in the next couple weeks? What would you say? Where should they start?
Get their 3 to 5 joint work partners on their website.
Terrific.
And know those stories, and that's your message. I mean, every time you are making a phone call to referral, you're actually selling your joint work partners, because you don't have enough to sell about yourself yet. And that's okay.
Yeah. So I think we're at the end of our topic in 10. I'm going to open it up to questions. So if you're on joining us today, you can put those in the Q&A and we'll take some of those. And while those come in, I'll get us started with a couple things that came to my mind as we talk. One thing is, we were talking about this before we went live, was how do you, in terms of your playbook, how do you guys make sure that you're actually consistently following it and everybody knows who's doing what? How have you really created those systems, and not just created them, but make sure that you're on the same page and executing based off of those systems?
Sure. Well, I mean, today we actually have a marketing PR person hired as part of our team, but so it's her responsibility to make sure we're tracking, and she gets coached and mentored, and I'm paying attention to all of it. But once a month we have a team meeting, and part of what we discuss is marketing. And she'll give the highlight of, what we've done year to date, where are we at for progress, and then what else are we like finishing off for the year. So every quarter, she has a bigger spot, but every month she's given like a little filler. Every quarter, what she does is she actually takes marketing to a bigger level, and we'll coach on like language or like bigger tweaks that we think can make a different kind of an impact. So we think of marketing, all different layers of it, but I guess that's where we're at today. And then her and I talk all the time.
Yeah. So it sounds like, as opposed to where a lot of people are saying like, hey, it's just kind of random when we think about marketing, you guys are making sure it is part of what you're doing purposefully in set meetings, but then also it's just your day to day. It's on your mind. It's something that you're present and discussing.
Right. And I mean, our 2021 marketing plan is already built. We already have a budget assigned to it. We know the different outlets of where we're putting some media pieces. And then Lisa, who does my marketing, she's already got time scheduled on my calendar because she needs my voice, and then we'll write some pieces. So that's already all scheduled out for the whole year of 2021.
Another question that we get regularly is around, how are you able to kind of be creative and set yourself apart in this regulatory environment, obviously, that you have to play within? How have you found success navigating that?
So this is probably kind of weird, but what we found is, like, I would forget about, there was this great discussion I had with a client. I can't quite remember it, but I remember there was something I thought I could do and have a marketing spin to it. So that's part of our monthly discussions. Is we actually keep track of things that happen in client meetings. So we get a lot of our marketing ideas from our clients, because they will say something to us of, oh my gosh, I had no idea how XYZ worked, and that's my number one reason of why I came to you, right? And it's things like that. When you hear that, you should document it and put it in, your Northwestern Mutual journals, that you have a load of them. And those are the things that we write down. And then every month we actually are discussing, like, what are themes that we heard. We get quotes from clients that way. We quickly, I don't know, I guess we're just trained so well now with this marketing piece that when we hear a good question or good feedback, we immediately write it down. And then once a month, we bring those to the team meeting, and, we just talk about, is there any good ideas here? Those are the kind of ideas that set our 2021 schedule of what we wanted to focus on. So it's very relative. I ask my clients for feedback. Any of our marketing pieces that I do, I always go to our top clients and I just ask them, what do you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Where did I miss the mark? It is shocking how good of feedback they'll give you if you just ask.
That's helpful. And then I think we have one last question, everything, and it relates more to, developing your strategy and your processes and everything. I know it's your guys' process and everything to try to put something in place, stick with it, be able to measure those results before you adjust. Can you talk a little bit more about why you do that and how that helps you manage your marketing?
Yeah. So, again, I have like journals of all these ideas. I've been to enough meetings, I pay attention in my client meetings. I have enough friends in this business. I steal all sorts of my friends' ideas, borrow.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right? I could change things probably every 10 minutes with the amount of ideas that are out there. And that's not healthy, and that's not good. So instead, what we do is we just are committed that when we start in something new, at a minimum, we have to do it for 1 quarter. even if when we start it, we hate it. We have to do it for 1 quarter. And the reason why we do it is, one, we don't want to do 1,000 things in 1 year. That's just a nightmare. It costs way too much money. It costs way too much time, which is worse. And what we found is that when we left it going for at least a quarter, even if we technically hated it, we figured out how to tweak it, make it better. And there was actually some good that we did it for the entire quarter. So it's just our philosophy on our team for marketing. And most of the items we actually really now are doing them almost for the whole year before we'll even consider changing it. We have a couple in place that we will not change it for 3 years.
Wow. That's long-term for certain, of sticking with it and seeing how you can learn from it and evaluate it over time. I'm sure you're keeping the data and looking at your budget and all that information along the way so that you can continue to make those important decisions of what's working within this and what needs to change in the future.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your time. We don't have any more questions right now, but if anybody else listens to this after the fact too and has questions, feel free to drop them in the Facebook group and we'll make sure to try to answer those. And we're here to be able to be a resource for you. One last question I had is, as we look to build this out for next year, who do you think people in this group should hear from?
Oh boy, so many. Let's see. God, I have a list. It's kind of funny. I have a list of advisors that there are certain things that I think they do so well. And I go back and I check their websites. I looked at their LinkedIn, and for different reasons. It's kind of like using that house app where you can flag certain parts of houses that you really love. I do the same thing with advisors all over the country. Oh my God, you got me such on the spot. I will send them to you.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure our group would love to hear about those people, and it'd be interesting to compare that to some of the names and things that I think of in that space too. I'm sure there's a lot of new people that are coming into it and making a really big presence for themselves as well that we can all learn from. So I thank you again for joining us. As a gift from Playmaker Coaching and Consulting, we want to be able to give to a charity of your choice. So what charity or organization can we support, Mindy?
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Thank you. So we would love it if you'd be willing to support our local women's shelter. So this month we've made them our charity, and we had all sorts of clients and friends and community help come together and bring everything they needed, baby diapers and sheets and towels and PPE supplies. And we have delivered just a slew of amazing things from our community. So they're our place that we're giving to this month. So we would love it to have additional dollars we could give to them.
Yeah, my pleasure. It sounds like a great organization. I know it's local community that I'm part of as well. So I'd love to help support that cause.
Thank you.
So once again, if you have additional questions, follow us online at the NM Marketing Playmakers group, and tell your friends and everything. So when we come back next spring, we can have even more people know about the resources they have available to them. Planning for this to be back next spring. In the interim, starting back in January, actually January 14th, on the second and fourth Thursday of the month, we'll be relaunching the Idea Slams and monthly office hours. So great opportunity to come and collaborate and brainstorm, or get, if you're just getting stuck on something and you're like, hey, can somebody just roll up my sleeves and go through this with me, to hop on, and we're all here to help each other. So stay tuned for those coming on the events section as well. Remember Mindy's try it at work tip this week of who are those 3 to 5 joint work partners that you have. Get them on your website, promote them, leverage those experts that you have to build up your own credibility. So let us know if you do try it and how it goes. And I appreciate your time once again. It's been wonderful. And you guys all have a wonderful and happy holiday season. Thanks,
Jennifer. Great.
Thanks.